Yo, sup! Today's short video is all about one of the most popular knives in the EDC world, the Reeve knife Sebenza 21. The Sebenza 21 now is actually on its way out after being sold for 10 years or so, and it will be replaced by its successor, the Sebenza 31, very soon. The Sebenza is an absolute classic in the EDC world and a kind of first grail knife for many who go down that rabbit hole. At $375 it ain't cheap, but I guess the price is also part of what made it famous. There is a small and a large Sebenza 21, and both sizes are available in different blade shapes and with or without inlays for the handle scales. I decided to go with a small size since I rarely ever need anything bigger in my everyday life, and also went with the Insingo blade shape as well as bare titanium handles. Now, the plain handles were for the most part because when I bought this knife I mainly wanted to see for myself what the hype is all about, and at the time I preferred the aesthetics as well. With that being said though, I think it's safe to assume that my next Sebenza will have some kind of inlay. The Insingo blade shape is similar to a more rounded sheepsfoot blade, if that means anything to you. While I think that the drop point blade shape looks far better, I made the conscious decision to go with something that would be more useful for most practical applications. I mostly use this knife as a tool when doing woodwork and for regular EDC stuff such as opening letters and boxes, and the Insingo blade shape does a great job at all of that. One thing that I've grown particularly fond of is the back side of the tip. That part of the blade is not sharp in the sense that it would cut things, but it's grown thin enough to be used for scraping, so it comes in handy all the time. The blade itself is made out of S35VN steel, which is considered to be a high-performance super steel, and was apparently developed by Crucible and Reeve together. In my experience, this steel is really easy to resharpen, but loses its hair-popping edge quite fast. It does however keep a good working edge for some time, and again, it can be resharpened in no time flat. So I guess it's a good enough mix for being a user, but if you expect your expensive knife to keep its edge for a lifetime, or even for longer than your average benchmate, well, you will be disappointed. Reeve is famous for using a very shallow, hollow grind, meaning that the edge from the side is slightly curved inwards. While that has different benefits and drawbacks for certain applications, one of the benefits in this case is that it can be resharpened for a long time, while still remaining the same thickness behind the edge and thereby keeping its cutting capabilities. Another thing that I truly love about this, and in fact most Reeve knives, is that it is available in right and left-handed variants. I obviously went for the left-handed one and gotta admit that it is nice that for once in my life I don't have to adjust the way I carry and use a knife to my particular needs, so high marks for that. The titanium handles have held up great, no issues here. They are showing some wear, but since this, maybe aside from my Leatherman Wave, is by far the knife that has to endure the most abuse, I'm fine with that. It's a user, a tool, so it's allowed to show some scars. Otherwise, the handle is pretty much a perfect fit for my hands. It's not too big or small, it's just right on the money. And just for your info, I do wear gloves sized large. I can get a good and comfortable 5-finger grip on this knife, while using up pretty much all of the handle. Since I only get this guy out for doing single tasks and cuts and not for longer uses like carving, I can't speak to how comfortable it would be at doing that. But for the way I use this knife, I really like the ergonomics. The pocket clip looks alright and has, in my opinion, pretty much the perfect amount of tension, so I never have to worry about it falling out, but at the same time it doesn't rip up my pants. Part of that is also that slightly raised lip, which allows the clip to slip onto your pockets more easily. So from a practical standpoint, the clip is close to perfect. Me personally, I much prefer clips like the one on the Benchmade Bugout, which is just smaller, deep carry and overall more unobtrusive to your surroundings. But that's personal preference, I guess. At last, let's get to the action. Now, to be fair, the way you see this blade perform right now is after weeks and months of working with it in my wood shop. I haven't bothered cleaning it in months, and while it's not buttery smooth now, I'm fine with the action as it is. A Sebenza is not meant to be the fastest opening knife out there, so no, in terms of sheer speed, it can compete with something that uses bearings. But at the same time, this is more robust. For once, due to the high tolerances, which is part of what made Reeve's knife so famous, there is less room for dirt and gunk to build up. Secondly, there are no bearings that could get clogged up by fine particles. With that being said, the blade, even as it is now, is still free dropping and can be flicked open with the slightest flick of the wrist. That's good enough for me. So to sum it up, this is a knife that is in my opinion a hard user, or at least that's what it was meant to be and what I think it excels at. Of course, it also makes for a nice accessory and might get you those sweet Instagram likes. But again, originally it was meant to be a serious user. Now you have to make up your own mind whether you would actually use a knife that costs this much money for hard labor, and I totally get it if you think this is stupid. There are certainly cheaper options that get the job done as well. On the other hand, this is a knife that could truly be considered a heirloom piece. This is potentially one of those buy once cry once items and might as well be the only knife you buy within the next 20 years. So if you want an exit knife, this might be the one. At the same time though, to be completely honest, at least for me, this has worked more as a gateway drug, and my spendings on EDC knife have only increased since I got it. But anyway, that's my short review of the small Sebenza 21 Insingo. Let me know what you think about it and about those more expensive EDC items more generally. Thanks for watching and take care.